Hi, welcome to my latest video. Today I'm going to do a very quick video showing how to change the track rod end. Okay, so that's this thing at the end of the steering arm on the steering rack rod that comes out, the track rod as it's called, and it is a sort of a ball joint, like a swivel joint. They can also suffer from a split rubber boot or gaiter, as in the issue I have here. That is an MOT failure. So if there's any play in that or dirt's going to get in and wear it, it will fail the MOT. So this one here needs changing, and what I'll do in a moment is I'll put the camera on the tripod and show you how I actually set about doing this to renew it and fit a brand new one. Okay, so a couple of things first. First of all, most important thing, these are handed. Okay, so this is the driver's side, or UK driver's side, the right hand one sort of facing out the front of the car, and the one on the other side looks slightly different, so that kind of comes that way. You've got to get the right one. And the other important thing is a ball joint splitter. Okay, I do see some people just kind of trying to hammer this. The issue with that is that's cast iron. Eventually one of them will crack. You don't want this breaking apart and your steering failing at sort of 70 miles an hour. That'd be an absolute disaster. Okay, so just resist the urge to hammer this. Okay, so I've heard of people who say, oh, I've been a mechanic 30 years, I never use a ball joint splitter, I just hammer this like hell until it kind of drops out. I wouldn't do it that way. That's a really cowboy way of doing it. Okay, use a ball joint splitter. They don't cost that much. This is a laser 3525. Other ones are available. I avoid the sort of fork type. I find that they just make a right mess of the not just of the old ball joint, but this as well. Hammering the fork type in, it just doesn't work very well. This is a scissor type. Okay, so you put that on there, you tighten that up, and it just bops that out. Okay, this 3525 laser one is the only one big enough that I could find to actually do the Freelander 2 ball joints. It'll also fit the other ball joint underneath there if you ever need to split that one out. Other things you'll need: 27mm spanner. So this is the same size you use for the oil filter. That is for undoing the lock nut there. And a 21mm socket, same as the wheel nut socket for this big nylock nut here. You'll also need, if you're using that type of ball joint separator there, a 19mm spanner for actually sort of tightening up the ball joint splitter. A hammer helps as well, just to give it a gentle tap, no kind of whacking it madly. Once that splitter's on there and that is compressing and tightened up, just give it a bit of a tap on top or a tap at the side, and bang, it'll eventually go. But before you split this, you do need to undo this and undo this. Now with this one here, you just undo it and then just bring it back sort of finger tight, because you want that one to stay in the same position, because obviously the amount that goes down the thread, it determines the toe in and out on the car. Okay, so when you remove this, you need to count the number of turns coming off. It'll be about 25 to 30 turns. It was 29 on the other side, yours may be different. Count them coming off, put the new one back on exactly the same. Be aware, some of these track rods are different lengths. Okay, so this one, that bit there looks different to that there, but the length is actually the same. If yours is a different length, then you've got to be really careful there, because you will end up with towing out or towing in. Okay, so you may need a wheel alignment after doing this. It's probably a good idea to just get a wheel alignment anyway as a precaution. Okay, right, I'm going to put the camera on the tripod. I've given everything a good spray with WD-40. I've got my kneeler and my seat thing here, just to allow me to sort of sit and get in there. Car is up on axle stands. Obviously you need to remove the wheel. I've removed my inner wheel arch line. You don't need to do that. Okay, so I've done that just as part of another piece of work that I'm doing, okay? But you will need to remove the wheel, and it's a good idea to get both sides off the ground, because then it's dead easy to sort of turn the steering wheel, because you want this to be turned that way, so this is brought out towards you, and then when you do the other side, just turn it the other way. Now, you don't have to do both sides at the same time. Some people just do one side, but I'm doing both. The car is 15 years old. These are the original track rod ends. I've just done the other side, and now I'm going to do this side and film it so you can see how to do it. Right, get the camera on tripod, and then we'll get undoing. Now, one other thing that you will need is a torque wrench for tightening this nut back up. 70 Newton meters according to the Haynes manual. That will need a torque wrench. This one is 55 Newton meters, but you can't easily get a torque wrench on that, okay? So you're just going to have to tighten that one up tight by hand with a large spanner. This one here, you can get a socket on, get the torque wrench on, and 70 Newton meters for that one. Okay. Now what's happening there is this is actually turning, okay, rather than the nut undoing. So there is actually here a sort of flat bit where you can get a spanner on and hold that still. Let's see, it's I think a 17 mil. There we go. Right, so if you do need to hold this still, 17mm spanner there, and that nut is now loose, okay? So what you want to do is sort of bring that up to the back of the track rod end. Try not to sort of rotate any of this, because that will affect the tracking. Now to undo this one here. For that I'm going to use 21mm socket with a big bar on it. What I'm going to do here is completely remove this. I tried to use the ball joint splitter on the other side with the nut wound to the top of the thread. It just wouldn't go on. Okay, so that nut gets discarded. Don't refit the nut. This one gets reused. This one you get a new one with the new track rod end. Okay, now ball joint splitter time. If you've just bought this splitter, you need to oil or grease the threads. Okay, so what I'm doing, this one here, both of these sort of wind in and out. That one I've gone so that it's just in the hole, threaded all the way through. This one here you have to wind out. And then what I find is put it on from this direction rather than going in from the side, because then if you do need to bash that gently with a hammer, you can easily do it. Now getting this thing on there, it does push on, but it sometimes needs a bit of a helping hand to just get it to stay on there. Now there is a very small recess in there, and you want that to be locating over the top of the threaded part. Right, 19mm spanner. And so the problem is, it starts walking itself off if you're not careful. Once the tension's on it, it tends to sort of stay put, but it may take a couple of attempts to get it located right. And then it's just a case of slowly cranking things up. Okay, and now when it goes, it can go with a little bit of a bang. So just give it a bit of compression. And then gently tap it, tighten a bit more, give it another tap and just keep going. Eventually it will go. This is the bit that people are fearful of. This is really what stops people tackling this job. They think, oh, this whole ball joint compressor thing looks like a real game. It is. When it goes, it's very satisfying. Yay! There we go. You just got to keep at it. It will go eventually. The other side was easier than that. This one was quite hard. It took some compressing. Right, let's get this undone. Let's get this out of here. Come on, what's going on here? It gets so wedged on there. And I can't get the thing off. There we go. Right. Right. So just try and keep that where it was, okay? Keep that nut, do not move that nut, okay? So that was kind of like that. And you can see here, all the grease is coming out where that boot is split. All the grease will come out, dirt will get in, it will wear the ball joint, eventually it will, in extreme cases, it will fall apart and fail. Right, now the fun bit, we need to count the turns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, it's very easy to lose count, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Now when you reach 25 it's going to go any moment. Okay, 26, 27, getting loose, 28. Okay, so 29 on the other side, 28 on this side. There it is. One old, very loose. It's not got any play in it, but it's very free moving, and all the grease is coming out, so that's going in the bin. Right, time for a clean up. Right, now I'm going to give this a bit of a clean. I'm going to clean this a little bit, but be really careful not to rotate that at all or move that nut. Okay, so just leave that just like that. Really, really important that that nut doesn't move or the shaft rotates with the nut staying still, because that will affect the tracking. Right, that's looking a bit cleaner now. Let's just get any dirt out of there. Now you don't need to sort of grease this or put copper grease or anything like that on. You want this to be nice and tight. You don't really want anti-seize on this sort of thing. Certainly not in this tapered joint here. I mean, it's deliberately difficult to split. Okay, so if you put a lot of grease or copper grease or something in there, then it just risks the thing coming apart in use, which you don't want. The thread here and the thread on top, that's looks like that's actually slightly oiled. There's no oil in there, but this has got a little tiny film of oil on. It really doesn't need lubricating. Okay, so this is the one thing that you do want to stay nice and tight. Right, new one now. I'm going to wind this on, 28 turns. Okay, so there's our arm. I'm just sort of feeling that to see what sort of wear. Tiny bit of play at the other end of that track rod, which can happen. So whilst this track rod is out, we're just giving it a little bit of a tug around just to see if there's any other play in the system. Right, so get that in position. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. Okay, now that's interesting that that nut actually has a little bit of room to go. 29, yeah. I'm sure it was 28. I will look back at the footage now and just double check that that was 28. I'm just going to bring that up finger tight. Okay. Right, let's have a look at the footage. 13, 14, 15. It's very easy to lose count. 16, 17. Okay, so I've just reviewed the footage, and I actually, at the moment I said it's very easy to miscount, I miscounted. And I went 15, 16, and counted 2. So 29 is the figure then. So I need to back this off and give it one more turn. One more, so it is 29. That would explain why the nut was not quite where I was expecting it to be. Right, this one needs to go up through there. Let's get the new nut. Now, I thought this was a nylock nut. It's not, it's just a flanged nut. Okay. Now, when you tighten this up, if you're lucky, the taper will sort of bite in and this will start tightening. If you find that the actual shaft is spinning, there is a little hex hole on the top here. Okay, so you can get a spanner and an Allen key. I'm hoping I won't have to do that, but let's see. There we go. Right, so this now needs a torque wrench on it, okay? I'm going to do that shortly, and I'll sort of film that in a moment. I'm going to tighten this one up now. Now this one here is 55 Newton meters, but it's difficult to measure the torque on that because you can't actually get a socket over it. Some people might have some kind of special spanner torque wrench. I don't. I've just got the good old ratchety type. So what I'm going to have to do here is just give this a real good tightening. Right. Okay, so the final bit is just to torque this up to 70 Newton meters. There we go, on the torque wrench, and that is it. Track rod end, not so bad once you've figured out how to use the ball joint splitter to pop the ball joint. That's the most difficult bit. The rest of it is quite easy. So once that's done, and you've done the other side as well, if you're doing both sides, put the wheels back on, take it for a drive, see how it feels, and if there's any doubt at all about the tracking, then don't hesitate to go and get a wheel alignment check. That's it for today. I hope that video was useful. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you. Bye.